Good evening. Tonight, we are not reporting from the front lines of Donbass or the ruins of Kherson. We are reporting from deep inside Russia itself, from a place Moscow never imagined would feel the war's direct touch. From the quiet streets of Cheboksary, capital of the Republic of Chuvashia, more than 800 kilometers from the nearest Ukrainian border. A place where families woke up this morning to the sound of explosions, to shattered windows, to ambulances racing through neighborhoods that, until today, believed they were safe, distant, and untouched. This is not speculation. This is not exaggeration. This is the moment when the war came home to Russia in a way that no amount of state television propaganda can hide. At least 14 people injured, including one child. Residential buildings damaged. A region-wide state of emergency declared. And for the first time in this conflict, undeniable evidence that Ukrainian drones can reach, strike, and disrupt life in the heart of the Russian Federation, far beyond the border regions, Moscow has long dismissed as acceptable collateral. Tonight, we are calling this the reverse invasion. The day Ukraine proved that distance is no longer protection, that no republic, no city, no civilian neighborhood inside Russia is truly safe from the consequences of a war Moscow started. Stay with me for the next hour, because this story demands we examine every layer: the strike itself, the human cost, the technological breakthrough, the political earthquake rippling through the Kremlin, and the profound strategic shift that now places Russia on the defensive inside its own borders. This is not just another drone attack. This is the moment the war turned inward and Ukraine began winning on Russian soil. Let us begin with what we know and what Moscow is desperately trying to conceal. The attack unfolded in the early hours of Tuesday morning, just after dawn broke over Cheboksary. Eyewitness footage, despite official pleas to suppress it, shows the moment at least one drone slammed into a residential area near a parking lot. The explosion was sharp, focused, and devastatingly effective. Shards of metal scattered across sidewalks, people lying wounded on the ground. Emergency services rushing to the scene as smoke rose from damaged apartment blocks. Chuvashia's health ministry confirmed at least 14 injuries, including one child. Victims are receiving medical care, some in serious condition. Independent reports from the Astra Telegram channel, citing eyewitnesses in local chat groups, suggest the death toll may be higher, at least 2 fatalities. We cannot independently verify those claims yet, but the footage circulating online is unmistakable. This was no stray missile or accidental fire. This was a deliberate, precise Ukrainian drone strike deep inside Russian territory. Governor Oleg Nikolaev was quick to respond, announcing temporary traffic restrictions on major roads in Cheboksary and urging residents not to share photos or videos, a plea that, as always, fell on deaf ears in the age of social media. Prime Minister Oleg Artamonov declared a region-wide state of emergency, mobilizing all resources to address the aftermath. And Russia's defense ministry, their statement was telling in its omission. They claimed to have intercepted 121 Ukrainian drones over 11 regions, plus annexed Crimea and the Caspian Sea, but not a single mention of Chuvashia, not one drone downed over the Republic. Not one acknowledgement that Ukrainian weapons had penetrated so far so effectively that they struck a regional capital with impunity. This silence speaks volumes, because Chuvashia is not Kursk or Belgorod. It is not a border region hardened to conflict. It is deep Russia, industrial, quiet, far from the front, a place where people believed the war was something happening over there, until today. To understand why this strike matters so profoundly, we must step back and recognize what it represents in the broader arc of this conflict. For 3 years, Russia has waged war from a position of assumed safety. Its cities, its factories, its people, shielded by distance, by air defenses, by the comforting narrative that Ukraine could never bring the fight home. Moscow bombed Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, Mykolaiv, civilian areas, power plants, hospitals, while insisting its own territory remained inviolable. But Ukraine has been patient, methodical, relentless. From the first sea drones that sank the Moskva, to the strikes on Kerch that crippled Crimea's bridge, to the deep raids on air bases and oil refineries, Ukraine has steadily eroded Russia's sense of security. And now, with this attack on Chuvashia, that erosion has reached a tipping point. This is the reverse invasion. Not tanks rolling across borders, not paratroopers dropping from the sky, but drones, small, inexpensive, unmanned, carrying the war's consequences directly to Russian soil, to Russian families, to Russian streets. And the message is unmistakable. If Russia can strike Ukrainian cities with impunity, Ukraine can and will strike back. The technological story behind this strike is nothing short of revolutionary. These were not the short-range FPV drones we've seen on the front lines. These were long-range systems, likely variants of Ukraine's domestically produced Beaver or Lyuty platforms, with ranges exceeding 1,000 kilometers, modified with advanced navigation, satellite guidance, and possibly even AI-assisted terminal targeting to evade jamming. How did they reach Chuvashia undetected? The answer lies in evolution. Ukraine has spent 3 years perfecting low observable flight profiles, electronic countermeasures, and swarm tactics that overwhelm even Russia's most advanced air defenses. They fly low, hug terrain, use decoys, and exploit gaps in radar coverage that Russian systems spread thin across a vast country simply cannot close. And tonight, those gaps were exposed in dramatic fashion. Russia's defense ministry claims to have intercepted 121 drones overnight, but in Chuvashia, nothing. Zero. The drones penetrated, struck, and vanished. This is not luck. This is mastery. The human cost cannot be overlooked. 14 injured, including a child. Families woken by explosions. People lying wounded on sidewalks. Residential buildings damaged. Lives disrupted. This is the reality of war brought home. And while we condemn all attacks on civilians, Russian strikes have killed thousands in Ukraine. We must also recognize the asymmetry that made this moment inevitable. Russia started this war. Russia chose to bomb cities. Russia refused to end it. Ukraine did not choose this path, but Ukraine has adapted, and adaptation in war is survival. The political fallout inside Russia is already seismic. Governor Nikolaev's plea to suppress footage failed spectacularly. Social media is flooded with videos, photos, eyewitness accounts. Ordinary Russians, far from the front, are now asking questions Moscow cannot answer. How did this happen? Why weren't we protected? When will it stop? In Cheboksary, traffic restrictions, emergency declarations, hospitals on high alert. In Moscow, silence from the top, followed by frantic damage control. State media downplays minor incidents, technical issues, but the footage tells the truth. And truth in this war is Ukraine's most powerful weapon. The strategic implications are profound and far-reaching. Chuvashia is not a military hub. It's not a border region. It's deep Russia, industrial, civilian, symbolic. Striking here sends a message no battlefield victory could match. The war is no longer contained. Russia's vast territory is no longer a shield. Every city, every republic, every Russian citizen now lives with the possibility that tomorrow the sky above them could bring fire. This erodes the Kremlin's most valuable asset, domestic complacency. For years, Putin has sold this war as a distant special military operation, a conflict fought over there with minimal impact on daily life. Tonight, that narrative lies in ruins. Recruits will hesitate, families will protest, elites will question, and on the battlefield, Russian commanders must now divert resources, air defenses, radar units, fighter patrols to protect the homeland that was never supposed to need protecting. This is the reverse invasion in its purest form. Ukraine didn't need to cross borders with armies. It crossed them with technology, with resolve, with the moral clarity of a nation defending its existence. And Russia, for all its size, all its missiles, all its nuclear threats, finds itself increasingly unable to respond. The world is watching. NATO allies see proof that supporting Ukraine yields results, not just survival, but the capacity to push back. Neutral nations see that aggression carries consequences that reach far beyond the battlefield. And in Moscow, leaders see a war that is no longer sustainable on their terms. Tonight, as emergency services work through the night in Cheboksary, as families comfort the injured, as Russia declares states of emergency in places that never imagined needing them, one truth emerges clearer than ever. Ukraine is not just holding on. Ukraine is winning, not through overwhelming force, but through precision, through adaptation, through the unbreakable will of a people who refuse to yield. The war Russia started is now being fought on Russia's terms, and Russia is losing. Thank you for watching. The reverse invasion has begun, and no part of Russia is safe from its consequences.